Dear human being, beloved soul, I welcome you to my podcast series, Conversations with the Universe. After a near-death experience, my perception of our human existence changed profoundly. I became more sensitive, with all our known senses. I feel more intensely, see people with different eyes, and often take a different perspective on life and our challenges. In my books, I share these altered perspectives and all the knowledge that has flowed through me since my near death and thus record it. For all those who are searching for something more, for the meaning of our existence here on Mother Earth. And it is now a great pleasure for me to share this knowledge with you in this way as a supplement to my books. This season I am dedicating myself to my very first work, the basics of being. I wish you many wonderful insights on your path. Thank you. Love.
Let us now turn to the laws of existence. We begin with the law of form. Souls require organisms to incarnate. Different frequency levels are the prerequisite for different forms of matter. Therefore, the principle of the journey of souls is the principle of forms. Depending on the frequency, different forms arise from the energy units. In our energy-dense frequency range, for example, these are plants and animals. Plants are also forms of energy. Their energies are far weaker than those that incarnate in a human organism. But they, too, possess consciousness. Unlike humans and animals, which consist of several soul parts, only a single soul part of a soul resides in plants. Therefore, they are also connected to the source through their mother soul, but only with the energy of a single small soul, splinter, and therefore with a smaller force. As a reminder, the potential for consciousness is strongly tied to force. The less power a being has, the less potential it has to form consciousness. Therefore, plants are inhabited by an individual energy, but it is so weak that it cannot become aware of itself. Their energy has a consciousness, and that alone is enough to possess free will and to create impulses with that free will. Plants, like us, are connected to everything, and they consist of an energy that has a consciousness. Therefore, know that whatever you do to plants, it works in them and through them, ultimately into the whole cosmos. The connection with the soul enables them to receive all impulses in the gross as well as in the subtle realm. Therefore, you should treat plants like living beings, respect and honor them. They are part of the cycle of inhalation and exhalation of the source. They too are a form of expression of an energy that is eternally connected to everything. The consciousness of plants is weak, but they do have one. There is energy in every plant. And this energy searched for the form of the plant. It lives through this plant, and the plant through it. Parts of the soul also live in animals, but these are stronger than the parts that incarnate in plants. Unlike plants, the organism is the cause of a further fragmentation of this soul part into several soul parts, similar to humans. Although the energy of these soul parts is weak, it is stronger than in plants. And, like in plants, there is also a connection between the spiritual and the organic. The greater potential of animal energies allows for 3 different levels of animal consciousness. Firstly, the weakest soul parts in animals are close to the consciousness of plants, so very unconscious animals. Secondly, moderately conscious animals. Thirdly, animals with a higher consciousness, so stronger soul parts. Regardless of the species, these 3 different energy potentials exist in all animals. So there are more conscious cats as well as more conscious dogs. Surely you have already recognized these individualities of each animal. The power potentials of these 3 levels are divided accordingly into very weak energy, little energy, and more energy. If the power is stronger, the consciousness is stronger, and thus also the free will. Of course, this free will is still not comparable to the will that a human being can express, but it is definitely present. Animals are predominantly guided by animal impulses, but they are nevertheless connected to the source through the soul. However, the form that this consciousness has chosen is very, powerless to experience and shape consciousness, simply because animals have limited tools. They have no mind, no hands, no thoughts, but they do have feelings. And so this soul part experiences in the form of the animal how exclusively animalistic impulses work and react in the sea of energies. However, the lack of reason does not prevent the impulse of an energy to change form from becoming reality. Depending on how attentively, how strongly, and therefore how consciously the animal experiences its soul parts, its animal nature, the stronger it can actually formulate the desire or the will to choose the human form in a next reincarnation. This cycle flows in two directions. Not only animals can formulate their will strongly enough to become human, but energies that were once human can also incarnate in animals. This depends solely on the awareness and attention that a person acquires during their lifetime. Animalistic behavior, animalistic thinking, cruel, disrespectful actions can weaken the energy of the soul part so much that the consciousness of these soul parts falls to the level of a conscious animal, and thus, in the further course of a next incarnation, becomes an animal. The deciding factor is always with what the soul part identifies. If the soul part's consciousness is agile, flexible, and strengthened in its connection to the source, it can unfold bit by bit. If it is rigid and inflexible, however, it will literally shrink to a minimum level of consciousness and lose an infinite amount of power in the process. Low vibrating frequencies require other forms, and that is also the reason why energies that were just incarnated in a human being suddenly end up in an animal. Once again, I would like to urge you to keep your consciousness flexible, because flexibility means strength, and this power is closely tied to consciousness. You can use life, and only life, to train your muscle consciousness so that such an energy loss cannot happen to you. Be alert. You don't know what tomorrow will bring or when the moment of transition will be. Then you can no longer change your energy state and end up in a frequency range corresponding to your energy. You choose now. Therefore, remember who you are. Be the creator that you are, and thereby fill the cosmos with the wealth of experiences that you can give it about your being. You have chosen this form. Here and now, use it. Such is the way of things. It is only the energies that can ultimately choose the forms and no one else. As a human being, you need many, many incarnations to become aware of your soul and all its parts. As this energy of awareness grows stronger, its impulses of will become ever stronger and faster in their realization. That is why a clear energy with strong consciousness is always bound to a great deal of responsibility. Responsibility for yourself, responsibility for your higher self, which needs the experience in matter to grow up. And thus, of course, also the responsibility for all being in the cosmos. So to summarize, our whole life is a unique opportunity to shape our consciousness in this society and in this time. But embedded in the energies of the cosmos, humans also have the responsibility to treat plants, animals, and Mother Earth with respect and gratitude. We were not born at this time and in this place for no reason. Something in you wants to work, wants to be, wants to grow and shape. Now, thank you again for growing together, and I look forward to the next time. If you have any questions, I invite you to my network. You are welcome to write to me there. Carpe Vitam, seize your life. Thank you very much for listening, and I would like to remind you to join our community Spine. We are a community that wants to help you live a healthier life, practice your spirituality, and expand your consciousness. We help you find and connect with healers around the world, and we help you give your life a new meaning in different ways. We are Spine, connections that help.